let's get this started. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody. This is Zach,
Welcome. I'm Joe.
and this is Pages of New England.
Yay.
Thank you for coming back and listening.
It's episode 7.
Yes, episode 7. We got something special prepared here.
A little Disney debate.
Yes, yes. I mean, we're more just going to talk
I was
about
going to say,
it.
it's not really a debate, because,
I mean, what is there to debate?
right.
But, hey, I was born in Florida. So,
You were.
what'd you say?
I said, yes, you were.
Oh, yeah. I thought you said where. I was like,
Florida Hospital.
St. Cloud.
Yep.
All right. Yeah, so I was born in Florida and growing up there.
Our dad actually worked for Disney.
Yeah.
We went all the time.
So it's like being up there is not anything special to me.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel. Everyone's like, oh, Disney. And I'm like, oh, Disney.
Yeah. But it growing up, it definitely had a special place.
Right. We were there all the time.
Yep. And it definitely was like the kids' memory of all of the characters and the storylines and the fantasies that kids would love to wrap their minds around.
We were at the center of it.
Yes, absolutely.
Which was even better.
So today, we're going to talk about kind of like pros and cons of Disney, some fun facts, some history, all this kind of stuff. Joe, you're pretty pro Disney, you would say.
Oh, I'm 100% pro Disney. Like, love Disney. I think everything it's created and everything it does. And I don't know, just big. I mean, come on, Zach. I named my dog, our dog, after a Disney character.
Yeah. Yeah, true. I mean,
But
very, very true.
while we're on the topic of, like, being at Disney and what is it, Disney World or Land? I never can tell the difference. I mean, I know the difference. One's in California, one's in Florida, but
Disneyland is in California.
it's Disney World in Florida. So, you know Epcot, right?
Yep.
So, what I found interesting is that Epcot was originally like the prototype community. So, like, Disney was like literally trying to build like little communities. So, Epcot actually stands for Experimental Prototype Community of Tomorrow.
Wow, I did not know that. That's
Yep.
actually pretty cool.
Right?
That's actually pretty cool. It's like
I thought
some
that was
Tomorrowland shit right there in Disney World.
literally, he was trying to build like the perfect community,
Yeah.
like little community.
Wow, that's really interesting.
So
Yeah.
their ultimate goal was to have like little Epcots all around the world.
That I mean, I see that working out well in some sense with not as much control, but I
was
see
gonna
that
say
working
there's
well.
a lot of control behind that. I
Yeah.
really don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, there's so much. So much. How many times have you been?
Disney?
Yeah.
Oh God, more times than I can count. Because I remember, again, you were young. I was old enough, so like when they used to have like the blackout days just for like friends and family, I used to always be there. I feel like I was at Disney like 2, 3 times a week sometimes. Like even if it was just going with dad to work or like whatever.
Yeah.
I felt like that was honestly there twice a week.
Definitely been there enough to count on two hands.
Yeah.
And I've been back been back when I've been older, and I still every time I'm go there, I'm impressed with how they've managed to work technology into an experience for little kids, but it's things have been changing
They definitely have.
with the way Disney's been going about some of their stories and where they align. Let me put it that way.
Well, before we head too far into the future, I just got one more little fact about Disney World.
Yeah, lay it on us.
So, Walt Disney World Resort is almost the same size as San Francisco.
What?
Put that into perspective.
No way. That's crazy. Same size as San Francisco. Wow.
Yep.
Do you know what the population of San Francisco is?
I do not.
No. Okay.
So we can look it up. I didn't even think about
Yeah.
going into that much depth.
No, it's all right.
But what do you got?
Well, I mean, some of the lighter things I have is Walt Disney when he originally was designing Disneyland in California, he he didn't love the name.
I
He
mean, you already have a Disney World. Why
w-
would you like downgrade to land?
well, let me rephrase that. Well, Disneyland was first. California was first.
Was it really?
Yeah. Um, I don't think it was like he liked one more than the other. I think his goal was to follow it along with his main character Mickey. So he wanted to name Disneyland originally Mickey Mouse Park. That was his the name on the blueprints at the top. After it was built and before the title went in, or maybe it did go in, they went and changed it to Disneyland.
Right. That's actually kind of cool. How, but like, so in some of my research I did, so the, before we had like Mickey, you know, because Mickey is really the face of Disney. You know,
Yeah.
it was a rabbit.
It was a rabbit.
It was a rabbit.
Really?
Yeah. It was,
Buster Rabbit?
no, I forget what his name was. And it's on my thing, but I just remember like that was like part of the last thing I was reading before.
Interesting.
Yeah, thought that was pretty cool.
Did you know the Disney Hotel, the one in Disneyland, California, was the first hotel in Anaheim, California?
Really?
The first.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it is pretty insane. I got a couple more facts here. The Sleeping Beauty Castle at Disneyland, again the one in California, is only 77 feet tall.
77 feet.
Yep. They use perspective and perception to make it look taller.
So how tall is it perceived to be?
That was not specified. I mean, I'm assuming a castle is hundreds of feet tall,
Yeah.
you know?
I mean, actually, I don't know.
The Pirates of the Caribbean ride at Disneyland was the last attraction that Walt Disney personally oversaw the development of.
That's kind of cool.
He died before it opened.
So while we're on the topic of Pirates of the Caribbean, do you know that is the
One of the top grossing films.
no, it's the number one grossing film.
For Disney.
Period. Well, and again, this was as of I think 2021.
I'm pretty sure my recent stats said Avengers Endgame beat it.
No. Even if you look it up right now, Zach, it
Fact
says
check.
Avenger. It
Bow,
says
bow, bow.
Avengers is top, but the number one.
Highest grossing
no,
movie.
I'm sorry, most expensive movie ever made. I'm sorry, most expensive
So
movie ever made.
that's the highest budget.
The most expensive movie ever made was Pirates of the Caribbean. I'll say there could be a difference between. I mean, obviously there is a difference between budget and gross, but mine is Pirates of the Caribbean was the most expensive movie ever made, and then coming in at a whopping number 2 is Tangled, which is so weird.
Okay, so I did find an article that does specify. One, before we get there, you know what really grinds my gears? Why do they always put the fucking list backwards? When I read the article, I want to see what number 1 is.
Yeah, but that's
2 to 3 scrolls, not 17, and then work my way to the fucking bottom.
They're trying to make you read.
That's some
That's
bullshit.
how you learn other things.
I scrolled right past those ads. I hope they didn't
Mhm.
get paid for that shit. So
Dear Lord.
you were absolutely right
Woohoo!
to an extent.
I'll take it.
Partial win. Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides from 2011 cost $379 million to make,
Crazy.
which is crazy for 2011 because that
Right.
probably was an average.
That was
the
a lot of
average.
money back then.
Yeah, absolutely. Coming in number 2 as of this article is Avengers: Age of Ultron, 365 million. Number 3 is Endgame, 356. Avatar, the one from that just went out, was 350 to 400 million.
I was gonna say I knew that one had to trump it, but none of the stats really had that, or at least the ones that I read. That was like, you know,
Well, technically, I saw it cost $2 billion to make.
that's crazy.
So if this is saying that it cost 350 to 4 million, I don't know where they needed the $2 billion to go even on.
Yeah.
Because that was the whole news report, was that they spent $2 billion making the film and they needed
Have you
to
seen
break
it?
even. No.
I've heard it's trash,
Yeah, I mean they make you wait a long ass time for that shit.
right? And honestly, like I saw the first one and like not saying that I don't understand how they could do a second one, but just like I don't know. I'm not feeling it. I don't think I'm gonna waste my time watching it.
Yeah.
How long is it? It was like 3 hours.
Yeah, it definitely was a longer one.
It's crazy. Like who's got 3 hours? I wish I had fucking. Well, I guess now I do because got all the time in the world. Got these next 3 weeks off. Gonna do a little self-reflecting. Got to do a lot of cleaning, and some more self-reflecting.
Nice.
Yep.
Nice. So last we talked about was the excuse me, the Pirates of the Caribbean ride, right? The Pirates of the Caribbean ride actually inspired the Haunted Mansion.
Really?
Yes, the Haunted Mansion was originally supposed to be a walk-through attraction, but after people loved the Pirates of the Caribbean ride so much, they realized that they could do a similar effect with the type of falling, elevator trick. Pretty cool. Pretty cool.
For those who don't know, aka everybody out there, that's my favorite ride. Not the Pirates of the Caribbean.
The Haunted Mansion. For sure. Definitely my favorite
Tower
ride.
of Terror. That's my favorite ride.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. There you go.
Tower of Terror.
Yep.
It's a great ride. I was first time I ever went on it. I was under the height requirement. Stood on my tippy toes, and he didn't catch me.
Oh,
Yeah,
boy.
but the camera caught me, and I was literally between. Have you seen the photo?
No.
I'm literally between my dad, who at the time was 300 pounds, 350, whatever, and then my uncle Matt, who was like 100 pounds heavier than him. And you just literally see me, and it's like it was one of those pull down bars. It wasn't like a single strap, so it was like a group pull down bar. And I had two very big men next to me, and in the photo, you can literally see a giant gap, like I'm in the air. Yeah, it was great. Loved it.
Flying through the sky.
Literally, like I could have been gone in a heartbeat, but it was so much fun. I went back like 10 more times.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's my favorite ride.
So my last one here, I have a few more, but I'm going to skip some of them. The Walt Disney's Company was founded on October 16th, 1923.
Damn.
That is far back.
Right.
That's insane. Yeah.
Well, and it's funny because I'm just reading some of my notes, and there. So when I was doing some of my research, you have like they talk about like the Disney motto, which ended up becoming like the 4 pillars of Disney. The 4 core pillars of Disney, and that is dream, believe, dare, do. And I was really trying to break it down, like, because you can't think of it as a sentence. Like you have to think of it individually. Like it's, you gotta dream. Everything starts with a dream, whether it's a small one, and then you gotta believe in that dream. Then you gotta dare to do that dream. Then you do it. As a whole, it makes no sense. It's like, when you think of mottos, you think of something quick, like, but that's what I kind of like about his is like, it kind of makes you think. You're like, oh, that's not a motto, like, again, a motto is like, fuck bitches get money. I don't know. Like, that was the first thing that came to my head. But
it's like the sum it up of a whole paragraph, and some of it is like the end of the sentence, some of it's the start of the sentence, but together you get the grasp of what he's trying to say.
Yeah.
So we were talking about like movie grossing and net worth and all this, right? So, well, not necessarily net worth, but a fun fact for this is Disney's approximate net worth as of 2021 is $303 billion.
That's billion with the B, folks.
Boy. Yeah, and that's insane. And, now Disney's net worth is the only thing that I think is really saving them.
Yeah.
When they create these kind of bomb-like movies. Like, for instance, have you seen the movie Strange World?
Well, I mean, so hold on. I want to.
Well, have you seen it?
I haven't.
So the movie Strange World, they spent 135 to 180 million on that movie, and it only box office sold 67.5 million. They lost almost 120 million dollars on a kids movie.
That's crazy. Well, I was gonna say some of those statistics don't really, if you break it down, is that Disney overall is down roughly 12. It's up almost 13% each year. Like overall, like they have their highs and their lows, but if you compare it over,
It's like a declining thing.
yeah, and it's roughly about 17%.
I wonder what that has to do with.
Right? They used to be, what I think it was like each year they used to profit about 23%. back, and this was all like, again, COVID didn't help. All these declining stats started when COVID hit. So it's like,
Yeah.
obviously it's, you know what I mean, because they didn't start, but like they grouped it within the last 5 year period, and within the last 5 years we've had COVID.
Yeah.
So no wonder it's been
I mean,
declining since, because
that's very
technically
true.
since 2017 is when they like, they did it.
Yeah, that's very true. I think part of their issue is how woke they've become and all this other nonsense.
Yeah.
But like they like Buzz Lightyear. Buzz Lightyear was a great, like, I thought the idea of splitting Buzz away from Woody
Yeah.
was a good idea. Especially since he had his own like anime cartoon
Yeah.
back in the day. But what they do now is to completely rewrite the storyline
I was gonna say, I
by
really
making,
have mixed feelings.
some. I never actually saw it, but I guess
I
he's
never saw
kissing
it
other
either.
boys, and I don't remember Buzz kissing boys in the original series. I don't know.
And what bothers me about a lot of this is like they're trying to recreate these great 80s and 90s and early 2000 films, and they're trying to
Cater it to the
to-
culture,
correct, but
to
that's
a
not
certain side of culture.
correct. But that's not the thing. Like, retro is in it. I hate to say that because these are things that I was wearing and I was watching should not be considered retro, but that's besides the point. But like,
So
bring back the original concept, just add that animation. Like, you don't need to completely change the narrative. Like, that's what I think Disney's doing too much.
and
You know
that's
what I
the
mean? Like,
problem with Disney, because it's a highly influential and powerful company, and because of that, it has like these abilities to gain these like very strong culture appropriation, and Disney will be accused of appropriating and exploiting cultures and stories from around the world, but in the same time they lean into things that they feel the population wants, or more
correct.
that will fit to an agenda that they're trying to conform to.
Correct. And again, and it's crappy because like I don't know how, like, like, why should they feel like they have to do that? Again,
If they
my
just stayed where they were, they could have probably can keep growing and gotten better.
correct. Again, you're Disney. You have a reputation to withhold in a sense, and it's like, for example, like Disney character, like the Disney kid film or TV shows. Like the Hannah Montanas, the
Yeah,
Liv and Maddie, whatever. When you had a contract with Disney, there was such a strict contract. You know what I mean?
to
Like,
keep the image good for kids,
correct.
clean for kids.
Why can't we continue that to? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Again, even in the new That's So Raven, you know what I mean? I was watching an interview that Raven Simone did about it, and like they were saying how the writers wanted Raven to be gay in the show, and Raven Simone, like real person, she was like, no, like this is Disney. What? Like she worked with them for so long, and she was like they were willing to compromise. She was like that was everything that I not necessarily believed in, but like she was gay when she originally filmed. That's So Raven. Like she talks about, she was like it wasn't that she wasn't. You know what I mean? So
They
it's like
didn't want to do it then. Why are they want to doing it now?
correct. And I guess for like the new season, they were, or not the new, but like when they were talking about it, they were saying, oh, well, what if her and Chelsea get into a relationship? And she's like, what? No, like that's absolutely ridiculous.
It makes no sense why they would want to follow that lead.
Yeah, I don't. And again, like when your own or like OG, Disney character star who is a proud member of the gay community and just is like, no, come on.
Yeah, I mean, it's good she stood up for that in a sense, because she is looking at it from Disney as like what it was and
It's like
what.
she believes in the image that
Yeah,
it presents. Yeah.
And
Which is huge.
but then still has enough like respect for herself to go out and do what she wants freely off their contract and everything
Correct.
else, but also has enough professionalism to go in and I don't know, I don't want to say put the pants on, but when you're dealing with a corporation like that, sometimes
That's
that's
what
what
you
it
gotta
feels
do.
like.
Yeah, exactly.
you know. And I mean, and to kind of bring it back to Buzz Lightyear and kind of all the stats we've been dealing with, that was a $200 million box office.
Jesus.
Yeah.
There was a lot of hype around it. That was for sure.
Yeah, or no, sorry, that was the budget. $200 million they spent to make that movie
It's crazy.
because of all the animation and everything.
Well,
Box office $226 million. So think about that. They spent $200 million to make 26. Let me give you $200, and all I want back is $26.
right. That sucks.
That's a terrible return.
That sucks.
things like these woke movies are gonna make them broke, and even with a $303 billion, like you said, they're losing 12% every year, maybe, and with losses like that, I'm sure it can't live for long.
Right.
You
Well, the
know?
thing that like now that kind of we're talking about animation, I just want to transition into this. Like throughout the years, Disney has held patents on some of the top animation technology, and specifically like, and I this was when the original like animator like color was came about.
Yeah.
Disney held the patent for 3 years.
They are super OG about licensing, and
Yeah,
like they're so good at that.
they held it for 3 years before they let anybody else. So they had 3 years ahead of everybody else with that technology.
If you think about it, that's still pretty generous.
Right? I mean, kind of, yeah.
Like for a large kind of monopoly on that industry, they could have waited 10 years.
But I feel like they weren't going to give it out, like not give it out, but they weren't going to, allow it to the public in a sense without knowing that they have way better. You know what I mean? So just imagine
They
what
were
they
never going to
had.
put themselves behind the 8 ball.
Correct. So
That
just
makes me
imagine what
wonder,
they
though.
have now.
That makes me wonder though, because scenarios like that promote open source, and I am a huge proponent of open source because I love the idea of some Joe Schmo or a team of Joe Schmoes getting together to build something for the greater good with no need for direct monetization. Donations is all that they love.
Yeah.
And I love that idea, and in a very similar sense, it's like he goes down that path. Or not he goes down that path, but I wonder if during that time, open source has been happening for a long time. I wonder if someone was going to release something very similar,
Yeah.
and in his mind, it's better to give them the tools to actually create greatness, even with us having more experience in it. It will like prop up that industry that he loved so much
So
of
much.
creativity and dreams and artwork and
Well, it's something kind of bounced off. I found out that's kind of cool. So, um, the guy who designed like iPods, iMacs, the iPhones, who helped, within the base designing,
with Steve
yeah, also helped
Wozniak.
design the character for Eve from Wall-E. Like, how cool is that? Like,
That's cool.
I helped engineer like the iPhone. Oh, and Eve from Wall-E, that's me too.
And that's so cool because Eve is like the futuristic, clean essence of like the robot from Wall-E.
And Wall-E, and this is what I absolutely love. So I'm glad you referenced it to that because so did I. So this helps with my segue because Wall-E is actually named after Walt Disney. So it's like Walter Earl or whatever, like W-E, Wall-E, and then they added but the W-E is named after Disney.
You know what? I'm gonna have to get nostalgic and watch that movie over.
Yes. And so, I mean, we're kind of, there's a little bit of difference, but you know the movie Up?
Yeah,
All right, so I figured
that was based on a true story, right?
Yep. Oh my God, I cried my freaking heart out.
I've seen
for
this,
that.
like a little old guy who looks just like it.
Yep. So I like checked about how many balloons it would take to lift Carl's house. It's 9.4 million balloons.
Holy moly!
To lift Carl's house.
That's crazy.
All right.
That's a lot of balloons.
That's a lot of freaking balloons.
That's
Imagine like that much helium or hot air or like.
Oh God.
Right.
So we talked earlier about Disney being like an old company, right? Like starting in the 1920s.
Yep.
Right? Shortly after, because they obviously had a lot of these classics from the beginning, but not many would think that they had them so far back. Like the Three Little Pigs
Mm-hmm.
was around in 1933.
Damn.
And they actually ended up selling the rights to Russia for like a reoccurring paycheck.
Yeah.
They used it for a few years and then ended up returning it with the comment it did not fit our needs.
Interesting.
And I thought that was really great because it showed Disney willing to deal with someone during maybe a not so good time.
Yeah.
Or
It shows how much like I don't know. I see what you're saying, and I can't.
like I don't
It's
want to
very like diverse.
because it's a two-factor thing here, and because at that time, and I'm not 100% accurate on it, but at that time Russia was still mostly communist, and it was a lot of dictatorships and yada yada yada. So Walt had a strike with his employees around, where's the date here? Around 1947. He had, I think back then he had about 100 employees total, right? He
Okay.
had maybe 10 to 15 of them get up together and call a strike, right? He ended up going to the HAAC, which is the House of Un American Activities Committee,
Okay.
where he went up in front of a committee and argued that there was a group of communist spies, maybe spies is the strong, communist un-Americans
Yeah.
that were trying to take over his artists and turn them.
Well, and you also have to remember that it, like, just, and when was this? 33 you said?
47.
47. Okay. So you have to remember that in, what is it, 1918, I think it was when it went from the USSR to Russia. So people that were embedded prior to all of this, and again, that was just when, like, that whole thing happened.
The irony is, it wasn't a unpossible thought.
Yeah.
It was the fact that he used it because there were common, not misconceptions, there were common knowledge that some of the work environment wasn't great. He was tough on his artists. He wanted things done by deadlines, and trying to create these things isn't always a timely manner,
Yeah.
right? So he was kind of harsh, and it turned into this employees wanting a better work environment. And when that came to it, he used communism and this un-American committee to promote and say they can't make a union.
Right.
It was only started because of communist un-Americans.
Oh my god.
And they agreed, and the union was shut down and blocked.
That's crazy.
It is. It's almost unfair, which it kind of leads you into another point, because at one point Disney actually was working for government agencies
Oh god.
during the war. See if I can get back
I
up
hear
to
a
it.
conspiracy coming.
Oh yeah. So during the war times, Walt Disney would work with government agencies, and he would make quite a few propaganda films slash cartoons to aid during the war.
I did hear about this actually.
Yeah, and he used this during that committee I was just talking about, when he was trying to prove the fact, because he's like, when we dealt with the government, we had seen some of their tactics, and now stepping back, I'm seeing the union people use similar
Same.
tactics.
Yeah.
And it just all came full circle to him having insight, to using that insight to pull strings to get control. And
Gotta love Walt Disney for that.
I
That
think
man literally he wanted control. Like, he had all the stepping stones. He just apparently couldn't complete it. He had his own little community. He had ties. He had deep ties within the federal government. Shit, he even went to Russia.
that
He was planning on taking over this damn world. He just clearly was not a closer.
and not the last piece, but the piece that we've skipped over the most, is that his brain is still preserved in a capsule for the future.
That's crazy.
What the fuck?
That's a man who wants real. That's because he knows, like,
played the long
right.
game. He's like, I know what's going down. All right, Jimmy, you gonna cut my
Right.
brain out and put it in a jar.
He set himself up. Now right now he's not a closer, but shit, I hope you come back, Walt, and I hope you show us all
Futurama
what's up.
style.
Right? Literally.
Just don't have a Hitler mustache, and we'll be okay.
Literally. Good for you, Walt. Good for you. Way to gain control.
That's crazy. So I know you like Top Gun, right?
Yes.
Top Gun definitely was a good movie. Once I saw the second one, I had to go back and rewatch the first one, obviously.
Big fan.
Yep.
Speaking of, nice little transition there. We're really transitioning well. I know.
Well, now you ruin it.
I was
when
gonna
you
say,
say
I
that.
know I'm
ain't
not
gonna
supposed to
lie.
ruin it, but that's part of my charm, you know. We can work on it.
You can.
Whatever. But did you? So Aladdin.
Yep.
Do you know his style was modeled after Tom Cruise?
Like his fit,
His appearance.
like the big chest, little waist.
I don't know. It just says that Aladdin's appearance. It was originally supposed to be modeled after, I think it was like Michael J. Fox, and then they ended up going with Tom Cruise. So everything about like Aladdin, like just his
Huh.
appearance, his
I would have not thought of that.
persona, it's based off of Tom. It's or not. It's
You know, he's the only actor. He is the actor with the most running scenes.
as much as I love to hate Tom Cruise, like
He's also the best runner.
Dude,
if you ever watch him running, he's booking it.
I am a big fan of his early movies.
Yeah?
I lost hope there in the middle.
Can you check his Instagram real quick?
Why?
Because look in his bio.
Oh
And
god.
while you're doing that, I'm gonna tell you some facts about Top Gun.
All right.
The
let's hear it.
budget for Top Gun was $170 million. Right?
All right.
Now
That's actually not much.
No, that's not much. Which because they did a lot of realistic flying.
I was
and a
gonna
lot
say-
of realistic footage.
And they did a lot of training for that. All
And
the
a
Top
lot
Gun
of
members talk
training,
about all the
exactly.
training that was done.
What I think is so great is like when you revert back to Disney's history, the same formula works even in today's time, right? Because that movie grossed at the box office $1.4 billion, a third of their net worth from one movie that they made a sequel to.
Crazy.
That is like the OG Disney, the business plan to
Right.
create a story, create demand, drive it. When technology for movies get better, you keep going, you keep dreaming, you keep
As much as I
keep
hate to say this,
daring
they
and you
couldn't
keep
do
doing.
it. They couldn't do it without Tom.
No, Tom is definitely an OG, and as much as I hate Scientology, I gotta love Tom because he wears it well.
Yeah.
So
Running
what's-
in movies since 1981.
There you go, Tom Cruise's bio.
Actor, producer, and running in movies since 1981.
The OG Octane, if anyone knows what that means.
Oh God.
Alrighty. Yeah. So there's a lot of pros and cons to Disney. Obviously, corporate influence, they're huge. They're a massive corporate with wide range of business interests, and that in itself brings power and influence and shape into public policy. They do face criticism for labor practices. That is a very common thing.
Right. Hear that all the time.
Yep, for treatment of employees at the theme park and resorts,
Which is-
particularly those with the lower wage jobs.
Which is so funny because they have this whole internship program which builds people for like successful futures. Like I've never met
But I still think that's selective to a point where they keep the low and they can weed out the middle and make them higher. And even then, the middle that comes up is still under their control, so it's a win-win.
yeah.
When you get your pawn across the chessboard and you trade it for a knight, you got the game.
Yeah.
Or a bishop, whatever you prefer.
I don't chess.
The the other crazy part about Disney, and like I think kind of the negative about their theme parks, is it has huge environmental impacts.
It does.
I mean, the resorts and parks have such an impact on the local environment. The company's been criticized crazy about it. Habitats destroyed because of their expansion and them having to truck in water because of how much they use during times of where
Right.
water shouldn't be allowed to be used. And then there's the commercialization of it. When you
Right.
look back at it, Disney is a family-friendly brand, and
Well, and you also, let's just talk about even like the fireworks. They do fireworks every night.
Yeah.
That shit's bad for the if you're doing that every night, that cannot be good for the air quality.
no, probably not.
And then it like spluts confetti from the sides. Like
Yeah,
it's not good.
no. Disney did have the first audio animatronic
I
in
didn't know that.
1964. Do you know what it was? Or
What-
who it was? Let me rephrase that.
Wait, what do you mean?
Who did they make the first audio animatronic after?
Ooh.
Let me give you a hint. Hit him with the big stick. I rule with a giant stick.
I'm even more confused now. I was gonna say Goofy, but now I'm really confused.
No.
Who is it? Just tell me.
It's Abraham Lincoln.
Oh, lame.
I'm pretty sure that was his phrase. Was like, I rule with a stick.
I don't know. I was gonna say Goofy, so I'm like,
Yeah, I thought that was crazy. I don't know why they did that, but they presented him at the 1964 World Fair.
that's pretty cool.
Yep.
So this song, like the word, like this song in the beginning of The Lion King, the da, 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 da,
Yeah, wasn't that who's that made by?
So it's Zulu, right, which is a language, and the translation is "Here comes a lion, father. Oh yes, it's a lion."
Oh shit!
Right?
It's a different language. That's
It's a
crazy.
completely different language.
That's insane.
Right? That was pretty cool.
That's awesome. I think we did a great job this time. We came prepared.
Yeah.
We had facts. We did transition well.
I do have one more fact that I haven't stated yet.
Okay, lay
You
it on
ready
me.
for this one? This one, in all of my research, it just kept coming up. I wasn't gonna put it on my list originally, but it just kept popping up. So I'm like, it is kind of funny. The whole concept of it is kind of funny. So here we go. So in the movie, well, actually, I have two more facts, but we'll start with this one. So in the movie, The Lion King, you have the hyenas, and the hyenas are portrayed as the bad guys, the villains, may you have. So there's a hyena biologist that sued Disney for the misrepresentation of hyenas.
What?
Yup.
I'm
How
sure
crazy
that
is that?
I'm sure that didn't last long.
Absolutely not. But
'Cause
like,
Disney just came in and was like creative content or creative consent, whatever.
yeah,
and
he
boom.
didn't like how they were portrayed as the villains and how it was misrepresentation.
I love my hyenas so much. you
Literally,
can't
like,
do this
what a
to me.
nerd.
That's insane.
But and then my last little fun fact, which I thought was kind of cool, because it's like, and we were talking about Disney characters earlier and people who have played like Disney roles, and a lot of people have become fairly successful, but in their own kind of ways. So the original voice of Bambi was this little kid named, I think it was Daniel, and he actually grew up to be the youngest drill instructor in the Marines' history. So technically, Bambi served in 3 tours in Vietnam.
Holy shit. Bambi's a boss?
Bambi's a boss.
Bo-
How crazy
boss
is
ass
that?
Bambi.
Boss ass Bambi.
That's
yeah.
insane.
He was the youngest drill instructor in the Marines to history.
You know, when you say that, I picture like these guys, like, big burly men
Right.
carrying assault rifles going out, and one of them's just got a Bambi tattoo on his forearm, and
Right.
everyone's just like, why you got Bambi on your arm? And he's just like, you wouldn't understand.
Right. Like, I am Bambi,
Yeah,
bitch.
literally.
But that was pretty cool, Like, and Bambi has kind of, not like a girly voice, but like,
No, it is. It's funny
It's
because it does portray as the girl. So.
right. But, yep. He grew up.
Or was Bambi a boy?
I think Bambi was a boy, but it was very it was like a baby, not a baby, but like
It's
a
a
young.
fawn, right? That's what they call it.
Yeah, but it was like the child. I think again he might have been like 6 or 7 when he recorded it.
Wow.
But yeah, he grew up to be. It's crazy,
That is amazing.
right?
That's awesome.
And just another little fun one. So Disney's first full-length movie, which is one of my favorite movies of all times, because I like to say personally that I have been referenced to this movie a couple times. Is Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Came out in 1937. That was the first full-length Disney movie.
That was their first?
Yep. They had little snippets before that. Never a full length.
Wow.
Yep.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
You got any more?
Nope, I think that's it for me.
All right.
I think I've read all of mine.
I think you did great. The Cinderella Castle at Disney World is in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
189 feet tall.
So the other one was 77.
77. So
Damn.
compare that.
Right. So have you heard about all the, like, the whole death parents, whole thing with Disney?
No.
All right. So, and I remember hearing about it. So in my research, like, that was one of the other things that I looked up. So the 101 Dalmatians, Peter Pan, Lady and the Tramp, and Mulan are among the only animated films where both parents aren't present or didn't die of the course of the movie.
Every other movie that happens?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Missing a parent. Died or just missing.
Did Walt have both his parents?
I don't know.
I gotta Google that.
But
shit
that
real
was
quick.
like, I remember hearing about that, like, growing up. Everyone's like, no, everyone's parents, like, dies, or, like, no one has parents. And so I had, like, looked up, like, the real stats. And yep, 101 Dalmatians, Peter Pan, Lady and the Tramp, and Mulan.
Wow.
Yep. So only
They-
4 movies have real parents.
His parents died shortly after one another, but they were together most of their time. Is what from what I can gather.
Yeah.
Mom died in 1938. Dad died in 1941.
So that makes sense. That was right after his first.
So his mom would have gone, and that probably would have promoted.
Well,
that
yeah,
type of
because you had
theme.
the first full length movie in 1937, and his mom passed a year later, and then
So there are still a number of movies where both might die.
yeah,
Wow. Well,
right?
what
And
do you know?
Pocahontas is actually the only Disney princess based on a real person.
Hmm. That has credibility, though.
All the other Disney princesses are like made up.
Yeah.
But Pocahontas, which obviously we learned about her in history.
Yeah. I mean, if I remember correctly, she kind of got not abused, but she kind of got captured, right? And then was told to lead him somewheres and then got away.
Well, the Lewis and Clark and
Yeah.
that whole expedition.
Well, I'm not a historian, so maybe we'll have to research on that.
I was gonna say I know it, but I don't want to speak out of turn because it's been a long time.
Hell yeah. But we're gonna wrap it up, everybody. We appreciate you listening for our Disney debate.
And feel free to comment or whatever if you guys have any ideas for future
Yeah,
sibling.
lay your future debate subjects in the comments, and we will talk about them next time.
Absolutely.
All right, everybody. You have a wonderful night. Thank you for listening.
Have a good night, folks.
And
Bye.
goodbye.